I understand that this photograph was taken by Reverend Collie McGilchrist from her home.
Yes.
What is that island that she lives on?
Lummi Island.
Lummi Island in Washington. Yeah. Yeah, you have to take a ferry to go to their house, and it's worth it. And she has to take a ferry to go back as the minister emeritus and speak. I think there was one snowy day when she thought, I shouldn't have taken the ferry. Wonderful. Beautiful. Well, so today the title of my talk is Mind, the Greatest Discovery. And some of our people are currently in SOM 101 class, and that is the chapter that we are reading to discuss on Wednesday. And the other thing is that the theme for the month of September is learning. So how about that? Discovery, learning, and this whole concept of mind, which is really the core and the foundation of what we do here. So the beginning of this whole exploration begins with the words I am. Begins with the words I am and with the question, who am I? I am is a mighty declaration. Who am I is a big question. And both the declaration I am and the question who am I are of such great importance. Interestingly enough, we spend a great deal of time, day in and day out, saying, I am this and I am that. To the point where we may have forgotten the power of those words, to the point where we may have forgotten what they do, that they are a declaration. Have you ever heard somebody say, I'm sick and tired of this. I'm fed up with this. I'm done. You know, it's actually a statement of where they're feeling in that moment, and yet that declaration is so powerful. Have you ever quietly, unconsciously said to yourself, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not qualified. Whatever the case may be. What if you have had some I am statements that you picked up when you were a child that are opposite of the truth of who you truly are? Are they still with you? Are they flowing like a quiet little powerful creative river throughout your days and nights? When you wake up in the middle of the night, maybe to adjust the temperature or use the restroom or something wakes you, what is the first thought that comes to mind? I am safe. I am comfortable. I am happy. I am well. I am content. Or is it I am worried? I am unsure. If you listen to the voice of the I am, if you just tune into it, it will tell you how you're really feeling. And there's more. As we move on our paths of spiritual study, we recognize how powerful those words are, and we begin to catch ourselves and say, okay, perhaps I can put some distance between myself, my identification with myself, and this experience I'm having. Instead of I am sick, or I have X, say, I have been diagnosed with X. I am feeling a bit such and such. Just put a little distance between I am and the condition. Because truly, there is a field of infinite possibility, of other possibilities between what we're experiencing right now and what we feel like declaring sometimes. So this big question, who am I, if we ask no other, will lead us to great, great things. We will find the answers to questions that have been previously unanswered, and we will go to places that we've only dreamed of in the past. That is because when we start to get real answers to the question, who am I, we'll discover that we are magnificent beings. We will discover that we are creative beings. We will discover that we are powerful beings. And we will discover that there is no limit to what we can know and what we can be and what we can experience. So it's worth asking. And it's worth moving beyond the unconscious I ams. It's worth attuning to them long enough to discover what they're trying to tell us. Because, sometimes I just can't help it. I use navigation metaphors because an autopilot, at least on a boat, it has an alarm that goes off when you are off course. And that is a beautiful, perfect thing. So if you have these alarms going off and your self-talk is saying, I am this and I am that, and it is so far from what you know you are and what you dream to be experiencing, that's a good thing. Say thank you. How perfect. You got my attention. I'm listening. And I know I can do something about that now. Now there's the crux. Can you do something about it? You can if you know who you truly are. When we don't know who we truly are, when we don't know what we're connected to, we don't know that there is a voice, that we don't know that there is a guiding intelligence, we don't know that there are answers within our reach. And when we don't know who we are and what we're connected to, we don't know that there is a power greater than our own blood, sweat, and tears that can accomplish things, move mountains, part seas, and more. We don't know that. But the moment that we do, interesting thing about how metaphysics works, the moment that we do know that we come from that we're made by it, that we're made of it, and in its image and likeness, the moment we know that there is an I am principle within us that can both guide and create, everything changes. One of the things that changes is that we no longer perceive that life is just flying at us. It isn't happening to us any longer. It is something that is happening through us. The other thing that happens is that as our understanding of this grows, our power in it does too, because we're dealing with the infinite. So as we understand more, we get to live more, we get to experience more, we get to have more. And this is all because we said, who am I? This is all because we listened to that voice before we knew that said, I'm this and I'm that. And it just didn't feel right. It didn't quite compute. No, that can't be so. You're right. It isn't meant to be that way. The thing about it is that because we are free, we have to make this discovery for ourselves. If Spirit, God, Creator, the Absolute, whatever you choose to call it, were to just give you your orders every day, if it were to just maybe send you an email, right, or a text, it used to be things were, printed and came on these big loopy papers, or by even more ancient forms of communication. But if you just got some kind of memo who said, here's what you're supposed to think, here's what you're supposed to feel, here's what you should do, and here's how it's all going to turn out, you would not be an individual. And you certainly wouldn't be free. Your life would be doled out. It would be automatic. It would be colorless. There would be no discovery. There would be no wonderful, delicious, frustrating yearning for something more, which keeps us growing and evolving and becoming more. So this magnificent power that knows and that creates sits within each and every one of us, and it can't tell us what it thinks we ought to do. We have to ask. We have to ask. There's one quote I want to share with you from the textbook from Ernest Holmes, which is literally the line that says, this is the greatest discovery of all time. And it goes like this. Back of the organism is the thinker and the doer, the mind. That's capital M, mind. Back of the organism is the thinker and the doer. And maybe if we were to translate that, we might say, behind my brain and my body is the one who thinks and does. Divine mind. The essence of this statement is that we are instruments. We are instruments of thinking and doing. We are instruments of thinking and doing. The idea of all of this, the relevance of it, is that our thought is creative. The same way that we were originally thought of and created. We were made in the image and likeness of something, and we were talking about this last week. That wanted to have someone to relate to understand it, to share with, to play with, to become more with. And you think about it, there's so much more that's possible when there are two. For reflection and relation and so much more than just in oneness. And so here we are, we're made by that same stuff, and when we think, we activate something that does. As we go further into the study and the practice of all of that, we come up with names for it. And let's just say that divine mind, when it contemplates something, activates the law of attraction, the law of cause and effect, the creative process. Something takes form. So then you have I, and you have am. They seem like such simple, inconsequential words, and yet I, capital I, has great meaning of identity, of spiritual identity. And am means that something is taking form. It is taking form. And of course, the possibilities are limitless. There's no mistake that we capitalize the letter I when we refer to ourselves. Isn't that interesting? It's a constant reminder, hidden in plain sight, used all day long in the written word and in speech. I. If we really agreed and totally believed that we were fallen, that we were lowly sinners, that we were less than, detached from, and not equal to that which made us, would we capitalize that letter? Perhaps really we're supposed to grow into and become fully aware of what it really means to say, I am. I think that might be the case. There is one of many master teachers throughout the history of humanity who said, and I am intentionally paraphrasing, of myself, I am nothing. It is the Creator in me that does the work. I and the Creator are one. That same teacher also said, all these things and more, so shall ye do. And by the way, that doesn't mean maybe you will. And you can if you want to. It is a declaration saying, in time, you will do this and more. Now, this is not my area of strength, and I know that in the Lamsa Bible, in certain versions of the Bible that are translated from the Aramaic, there is a version of Philippians that says that we needn't feel guilty about seeing ourselves as equal to God. You know? The thing that I believe I mentioned last week, and I know I did in our class, is that the Creator is infinite. It made us out of itself, in its image and in its likeness. And what are we but offspring of it, growing into our awareness of being that? And if it makes you feel more comfortable, know that you are a wave. You're not the whole ocean. I believe I said that last Sunday. And also know that because it is infinite, it is impossible for any one of us to successfully contain all that it is. We can't even name it without missing something. And some don't even try, because it would be blasphemy to even try to name it. But imagine this, that which made you out of itself, in its image and in its likeness, with the same qualities and characteristics, out of the same elements, could you not say that you are that? You're not saying, I'm all that. You're just saying, I am that. I am that. I am. I am that. I am. That's not so bad. If it feels a little more comfortable, you can say, I am of that. I am long as whatever you declare in your I am statements claims that origin and that truth of your being. Because once we know anything, then it becomes the truth for us. It becomes the law for us because it is what is activating that creative process, that principle. So once we know something, entire worlds open up for us. This I am principle, which is within each and every one of us, is something that has never contemplated separation. It has never been separate from, never had the idea of anything other than oneness as all life. And so we don't need to go out there and look for it. We don't need to call it up. We don't need to make an appointment with it. We don't need to listen to anyone. We can sit here together and have the same revelation. We choose to do what we're doing right here, right now. And I go to conferences, I take classes, I sit with people, I make appointments to have people help me to remember the truth of who I am as well. We all are remembering, we're all helping one another to remember. So this thing, as they say, is nearer than your breathing, closer than your neck vein, that knows. This thinker and this doer, this I am principle. And the way to hear it is to find a way to be still and know. It's actually just to find a way to be still. Just that one thing. Because once we are still, that knowingness has the opportunity to be heard. Once we are still, that knowingness has the opportunity to emerge. When we are still, we are open. I am opening. My heart is ready to receive. So if we do nothing else today, we remember that the key to knowing who we truly are, and to not just knowing it, but experiencing what is possible for us, is to find a way, even once a day, to be still. Where all the other voices, I've got my chatter, believe me, where all the other voices just take a back seat just for a little bit. And that infinite knowing is right there. That deep peace is right there. The answer to a question is right there. The solution to a problem is right there. The love, the connection, the sense of belonging we've been missing is right there. And everything that we require in substance is right there. The energy is right there. So today, at some point when you go home, just remember, be still and know that I am, you are God. So let's just take that into prayer as we close this time of our program together. Just close your eyes and try these words out for yourself. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. I recognize that this is the truth of all of creation, and that it has made us in its image and in its likeness. Out of itself, it is who and what we are. And so I recognize that this truth, I speak my word knowing that this truth permeates our thinking and our feeling nature, our physicality, our bodies and the bodies of our affairs, that it permeates our expressions and our experiences today, coloring each, enlightening and enlivening each, expanding possibility, creating greater openings for delicious, delightful experience, fulfilling every need, answering every prayer and question, resolving every problem. I recognize that this power is within each of us all the time. It always has been. It is now and ever will be so. And in gratitude for this, as we accept this gift, we open our eyes and say together, and so it